Hello and welcome to the Bike Ride Studio. I'm Scott and today we're checking out the Radster Trail from Rad Power Bikes. Before we kick off this review, go ahead and click subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you never miss another new review. The Radster Trail is a hybrid style e-bike that's marketed for all-terrain riding. This is the Canadian version of the Radster Trail. Both the specification and performance are slightly different to the US version. More on that in a bit. In this review, I'll go over the Radster Trail's specifications, list the key pros and cons, discuss how it performed in our standardized tests, and finish with my overall thoughts. So who are Rad Power Bikes? Seattle-based Rad Power Bikes was founded in 2007. In recent years, it's become a very popular e-bike brand in North America, the UK, and Europe, offering a range of e-bikes, including commuters, cargo bikes, fat tire bikes, and even an electric trike. This is the second review we've done of a Rad Power bike, but you can follow the link in the description below to bikeride.com, where you're going to find dozens of written reviews of Rad Power bikes. So what is the Radster Trail? The Radster Trail is a step-through e-bike with 27.5-inch wheels, 3-inch tires, a suspension fork, a rear hub motor, and a 720 watt-hour battery. Rad Power Bikes optimize the Radster Trail for off-road riding. The other version of the Radster Road, is essentially the same bike, but it's been optimized for paved riding. If you buy this bike in the USA, you're going to get a 750 watt motor with 100 Newton meters of torque and a 28 mile/hour top speed. The US Roadster can be set up for e-bike class 1, 2, or 3. Here in Canada, however, e-bikes are limited to 500 watts and 32 kilometers an hour, which is just under 20 miles per hour. And this means that class 3 operation isn't available in Canada, which really sucks for us. Since 2024, new regulations prevent us from importing e-bikes that don't comply directly with these regulations. The Canadian market Radster Trail's different specifications affect its acceleration, hill climbing ability, and range. We'll see how this pans out later on in testing. Rad Power Bikes calls the Radster Trail a do-anything, go-anywhere recreational off-road bike. Right, and I'm Brad Pitt. I mean, come on, man. I'm not Brad Pitt, and this thing weighs almost 80 pounds and has an 80mm suspension fork. It most definitely will not be able to do anything and go anywhere. But let's find out just what it can do. The biggest pro with the Radster Trail is the level of comfort. The high step-through frame layout makes it easy to get on and off. And once you're seated, the riding position is very comfortable, and it's easy to pedal. The Radster Trail's sturdy, stable feel really does inspire confidence. It's also pretty easy to maneuver this bike on the road, and in more open spaces. The comfortable ride is enhanced by the smooth throttle and pedal assist, which both provide good power up to this Canadian version's 500 watt motor limit. We can probably also thank the fork's boost spacing and that solid through axle for the bike's sturdy ride feel. The Radster Trail has Tektro E350 hydraulic disc brakes with 2 piston calipers and 180mm rotors front and back. Tektro's E350 brakes win praise on many e-bikes, and things are no different here. Braking is both powerful and consistent. The brakes are quiet, and they did well in testing, needing only 16.5 feet to stop this bike from 20 miles per hour. That's a little bit longer than some of the e-bikes that I've ridden recently, but it beats most competitors of a similar style and weight. The semi-metallic brake pads supplied with the Radster Trail could definitely be helping with this shorter braking distance. The Radster Trail's frame looks great. The welds are nice and smooth, and it has a beautiful paint finish. The components and specs are all up to date, with features like that boost front axle, a threaded bottom bracket, quality brakes, and turn signals. It has a full color display with good controls and readouts such as a battery percentage. Stickers are on the bike to attest to its UL certifications, and it's also good to see how much helpful documentation and information Rad Power Bikes provides for buyers. The Radster Trail is a large, heavy bike that's hard to lift and transport. Getting this bike onto a bike rack can be quite a challenge. And this is mainly down to the weight of almost 80 pounds, as well as the bike's bulky size and those fat tires. Typically, with a bike that's this heavy, you're going to get full suspension, but not on the Radster Trail. That bulk and lack of suspension mean that the Radster Trail is just fine for light trails, but it's really not up to the demands of anything more aggressive, such as mountain bike trails, backcountry travel, or hunting. The Radster Trail's hydraulic suspension fork has only 80 millimeters of travel. It does have a preload adjustment, but it still feels very stiff. Despite that stiffness, it still bottoms out pretty easily. This bike's size and weight really make it ill-suited to trails with tight turns or when you're riding over bumpy terrain. And when you do hit bumps, there's a lot of chain slap. This is due to the Shimano Altus derailleur lacking a clutch, which is a basic requirement for riding off-road. The Radster Trail's weight forces you to use the motor's assistance to get the bike moving, and that increases the risk of losing traction on wet or bumpy trails. The torque sensor helps a bit, but it's not enough to make up for the effects of a heavy bike with a hub motor. And it's not even close to the natural sensitive assistance that you'd get from a quality mid-drive motor. And finally, if you're in the USA, you can just skip this point, because it really only applies to Canadian buyers. It's not possible to import the full power Radster Trail into Canada, so this bike's motor is limited to 500 watts. With the 500 watt limited motor, the Radster's Trail is a little bit underpowered. And when it comes to acceleration speed and climbing hills, this bike did disappoint a bit. Rad Power Bikes says that this bike has the same 100 Newton meters of torque as the US version, but it didn't really feel that way to me during testing. Finally, Canadian e-bikes are limited to just under 20 miles per hour, so I wasn't able to test the US Radster Trail's 28 mile per hour top-end performance. So what does it do best? The Radster Trail has good battery range and performs well on both pavement and light off-road terrain. In general, this bike is easy to ride. Despite its large size, high weight, and the big tires, it feels balanced and relatively nimble, with responsive steering and a planted feel in turns. It's not a bike that I'd want to ride on really tight trails or overly aggressive terrain, but almost everywhere else, it's easy to forget how massive the Radster Trail actually is. It's particularly easy to configure this bike for the desired e-bike class by going into the advanced settings menu and selecting the e-bike class that you want to ride at. The overall quality level of the Radster Trail is also good, with UL 2271 and 2849 certifications, IPX6 weatherproofing, and specifications like that boost through axle and its torque sensor. At 79.4 pounds, the Radster Trail is a heavy bike. That weight and the bike's large size make it difficult to lift or transport. The bike's bulk and weight also detract from its capacity for riding off-road, especially on tighter trails. The stiff, short travel fork doesn't handle bumps, rocks, or roots well. And when you do hit bumps, there's a lot of noisy chain slap. The Radster Trail only comes in this mid-step frame, but it is available in two sizes. Rad Power says that the regular fits riders from 4'11" to 5'8", and the large is for riders that are sized 5 feet 7 inches to 6 feet 6 inches. I'm 6 feet tall, and there's about an inch of seat post range left when the bike's seat is fully set up for me. So it should fit anyone up to around 6 feet 4. But I kind of doubt that anyone taller than that is going to find the bike to be a perfect fit. The Radster Trail comes in fur green or this attractive copper red paint. And Rad Power says this bike will carry up to 370 pounds, and riders that are up to 290 pounds. And the included cargo rack is rated for 55 pounds, as well as there are mounting points on the head tube for an optional front rack. On the seat tube, there's one set of mounting bosses for a bottle cage. Now the bike has external cabling, which makes servicing easier, and it's nicely bundled up inside of a plastic sleeve. The frame both looks and feels robust, with none of the shimmy that I've experienced on some fat tire step-through bikes previously. The semi-integrated battery is easy to grab when you're removing it. The suspension fork is hydraulic, which is nicer than the basic coil forks that are found on many budget bikes, but it's still very stiff and has only 80 millimeters of travel, which really isn't enough for an off-road bike. The Radster's display is a large 4.5-inch LCD, which is mounted in landscape format. The clear layout makes it easy to read, and the battery readout can be viewed as either an estimated miles remaining or a battery percentage. I found the range estimate to be conservative. I exceeded the estimated range in both of my range tests, but the estimate is consistent and it guarantees that you're going to reach your destination. So it's definitely a nice touch. Another nice touch is the icon on the display that shows when your phone is plugged into the USB-C charge port. The control pad on the left handlebar has 5 buttons, with symbols that show the button's secondary functions, which is always nice. The included key is only needed to remove the battery, not to operate the bike. But unlike a lot of e-bikes that I've tested recently, the Radster Trail can be secured against unauthorized operation, using either the included NFC card or a custom PIN code. Now there's no smartphone app for this bike, but all the advanced options are easily accessed via the display. The Radster Trail has integrated lights, including a headlight, a rear light with brake activation, and turn signals. Not only does the display let you know when a turn signal is on, but the turn signals auto-cancel after 2 minutes. Rad Power really makes it easy to configure this bike for the different e-bike classes, some of which require either a speed limit on the throttle or no throttle at all. These settings can disable the throttle completely, but some legal jurisdictions might not allow the bikes to have a throttle, even if it's technically disabled in the software. Unlike some e-bikes, it's not easy to remove the throttle from this bike. You can undo the bolts and remove the throttle, but as it's a half-twist throttle and forms part of the right handlebar grip, you're also going to need to install a new full-size grip. Alternatively, you can simply unplug the throttle. But again, this may not be sufficient for all legal jurisdictions. The throttle only supplies power up to 20 miles per hour, and it's not linked to the pedal assist level. So the bike might still be legally compliant in many places, but strictly speaking, Class 3 operation doesn't allow a throttle. The e-bike controls consist of a power button, left and right turn signal buttons, a menu button, and pedal assist up and down buttons. Long press the power button to turn the bike on or off. Press the left or right turn signal buttons to turn a signal on or off. The power and turn signal buttons have no secondary functions. A short press on the pedal assist up button increases the pedal assist level, and a long press turns the lights on or off. A short press on the pedal assist down button decreases the pedal assist level, and holding this button down engages walk mode. Letting go is going to disable that walk mode. A short press on the menu button toggles the display, and the secondary display shows trip time, trip distance, and the e-bike's class. To enter the advanced menu, you're going to press and hold the menu button. To navigate through the advanced menu, use the up and down buttons to move through the options, and press the menu button to enter that option. Here's a graphic showing the advanced menu options. The Radster has a Rad Power branded rear motor. This is a 48-volt motor with 100 Newton meters of torque. In the US, the motor is rated at 750 watts, but in Canada, the bike comes with a 500-watt motor. It's relatively quiet for a rear hub motor. The pedal assist is controlled by a torque sensor, which worked smoothly, and it resulted in assistance that's well matched to pedal strokes. The half-twist throttle works smoothly, and motor output using the throttle isn't linked to that pedal assist level. On this bike, the throttle is limited to 32 kilometers an hour, which is 19.88 miles per hour. Acceleration up to 20 miles per hour was still smooth, but a bike this large and heavy definitely wants more power than we can get here in Canada. I'll go through the bike's test results in a minute, but the 500-watt hard limit on the motor's power definitely hurt the Radster Trail's performance in both the hill climb and 20 mile per hour tests. Almost all 500-watt e-bikes I've tested have higher peak power, but this one has a maximum of 500 watts. In the small hill climb, the Radster Trail averaged 16.5 miles per hour to complete the climb in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, making it notably slower than the most comparable bike that I've tested, and over a minute slower than the Fido Titan. In the medium hill climb, the results are even worse, with the Radster needing 3 minutes and 32 seconds to get up the hill, while all the comparable bikes did it in under 3 minutes. When it comes to getting from 0 to 20 miles per hour, the Radster needs 11 seconds, using pedal assist 5. But on the throttle alone, it takes 16 seconds, which is almost twice as long as most of its competitors. So it's safe to say that this 500 watt limit that Canada imposes is really hurting the acceleration and ability of this bike to maintain those speeds during the hill climbs. The Radster has a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery. Given the 500 watt motor on this bike, that 720 watt hours is a good size. On the 750 watt US version, I'd consider it to be slightly undersized. The bike comes with only a 2 amp charger, which is below average these days, and it means that a full charge is going to take around 8 hours. In my testing, the bike had good range, using both pedal assist level 3 and pedal assist level 5. Using level 5, the Radster traveled 30.22 miles, at an average speed of 16.5 miles per hour, gaining 1,113 feet of elevation, which put it right in the middle of the pack. Now on pedal assist level 3, the Radster's 43.74 miles, 13.4 mile per hour average speed, and 1,500 feet of elevation again compared favorably with similar bikes from other brands. Although the Himaway D5 did travel almost 20% further. But then again, that bike also does use a 20 amp hour battery. The battery display has 4 bars, with each bar divided into 4 sections. In my testing, this display proved to be accurate all the way to empty. With half of the last battery bar remaining, the bike starts to limit motor output. And when the display reads empty, the battery is completely dead. The Radster Trail maintained good power at all battery levels, until it hit that last half bar on the battery meter. This steady performance and the reliable battery indicator help when you're estimating your remaining range. There's also the option to show battery percentage above the battery bar, and see the remaining range displayed in miles or kilometers. This estimated range is on the conservative side, but it's definitely a reliable way of ensuring that you always reach your destination. The charge port is on the upper side of the battery, with a rubber cover to protect it from moisture and dirt. And the same charge port is used for charging whether that battery is on or off the bike. To remove the battery, insert the key, turn to unlock it, and the battery pops up and out of the bike, ready to be removed. The key is only needed to unlock the battery when you're removing it from the bike. To install the battery, simply drop the battery in bottom first to line up the contacts. Then press the battery down until it clicks into place. It's now secure and locked in its place. The Radster Trail's drivetrain should be familiar to anyone that's seen one of our recent reviews. It's an 8-speed Shimano Altus group set with an Altus M315 trigger shifter on the right handlebar. The 50-tooth chainring has a double-sided aluminum chain guard, and there's an 11 to 34-tooth cassette at the rear. As we've come to expect with the Shimano Altus, it does what you want, and there's a good range of gears for the 20 mile per hour limit that we have on this bike, so it shifts just fine. However, as the bike does weigh over 79 pounds, even with good gearing, it's not easy to get moving, so you do need the motor's assistance in general. The good news is that the throttle works smoothly, and the torque sensor pairs well with the gearing for most terrains. The only time that this combination doesn't work so well is on bumpy or slippery off-road surfaces, where it's kind of hard to apply the motor's power without losing traction at the rear wheel. The Radster has Tektro E350 2-piston hydraulic brakes with 180mm rotors and semi-metallic brake pads. Semi-metallic brake pads can be louder in wet weather than the more common resin pads, but they're never as noisy as the cheap brake pads and rotors that are found on many budget e-bikes. During my time with the Radster, the brakes didn't make very much noise, but they performed very well, outbraking comparable bikes that I've tested, for a total stopping distance of 16.5 feet from that top speed of 32 kilometers per hour. This bike has 27.5-inch aluminum rims with 3-inch wide Kenda Havoc tires. The tires performed well on and off-road, with good traction and handling on light trails and gravel. Rad Power Bikes says that the tires have puncture protection, but there's nothing on the side wall to confirm that. The trade-off for the off-road performance of these knobby treads is the increased noise and rolling resistance that you're going to get on paved surfaces. Having said that, I really didn't find these tires too noisy on the road. And the motor's assistance means that you don't notice any increased rolling resistance. The Radster Trail comes with a good set of accessories. Up front, there's a 200 lumen headlight. The rear light contains an awareness light, a brake light, and turn signals. And in keeping with this bike's off-road style, it has a half coverage fender at the front, and the fender at the rear is almost full coverage. Again, it's decent for an off-road bike, but the road version of this bike has longer fenders front and rear. The included rear cargo rack can carry 55 pounds, and there's provision on the head tube to mount a front rack, as well as a set of bottle cage mounts on the seat tube. The single-sided kickstand worked without issue during testing, and the Radster Trail comes with 2 NFC cards, which allow you to lock and unlock the bike without a conventional key. Given how many e-bikes lack any way to prevent unauthorized operation, this was a pretty nice feature to see. This review marks the first time that we've added testing of lights that come with an e-bike. From now on, we're going to be using the same setup to provide objective measurements and subjective assessments of headlights and rear lights. Our reference lights are a CAD-EYE AMP 1100 lumen front light and a Lezyne KTV Pro Plus 150 lumen rear light. Visually, the Radster Trail's 200 lumen headlight is very bright compared to the one on the Engwe L20 2.0. It also compared well against our CAD-EYE reference unit. It does have a narrower beam, but it projects well past 100 feet. The Radster's headlight does a good job of illuminating the road ahead, but it offers very little peripheral lighting, certainly much less than the CAD-EYE, which has a very wide beam. Still, the Radster's headlight provides plenty of light for riding at night. The Radster Trail's 150 lumen rear light appears to be slightly less bright than the Lezyne, but it does seem to have quite a wide pattern though. The Radster Trail's rear light appears very clearly to other road users from 100 feet away, and the brake light is noticeably brighter than the awareness light. The Radster Trail has lock-on rubber grips with an ergonomic flare. I found these grips to be comfortable. The right-hand grip has an integrated twist throttle. This bike comes with a padded sport-style saddle. It's not as plush as a lot of other saddles, and that firm padding did get a little bit uncomfortable during the longer rides. However, the shape and the size of the saddle did not impede my pedaling, and the Radster Trail has plastic platform pedals. They're fine for general use, but the small rounded pegs do lack grip in wet conditions. The Radster Trail is an attractive and comfortable bike that's easy to ride, fine on light trails, and can carry a useful amount of cargo. However, the hardtail configuration, basic suspension fork, large size, and that hefty weight argue against claims that this bike is ready for true off-road riding. And even if you don't mind the challenge of piloting the Radster Trail along bumpy trails, that chain slap is going to be annoying. Overall, the Radster Trail is a comfortable ride with good specs and accessories that do a great job of masking its bulk around town and on smooth trails. While the Canadian version of this bike lacks acceleration and hill climbing abilities, the extra power and speed that are going to be available from the US version of the Radster Trail will definitely make up for that. For our written review and final score on this bike, click the link down below in the comments. And remember, BikeRide.com has lots of reviews of all types of bikes, plus updates on cycling events and vibrant cycling forums. Have you ridden the Radster Trail? Do you agree with my review, or do you have any questions? We always welcome your feedback in the comments. And if you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you on the next review.